loudest commentators in the UK, Piers and Dan Wootton, decided to take their disagreements public. These are men who have spent years building careers pointing fingers at everyone else, dissecting the actions of public figures, and sharpening their commentary to a razor edge, particularly when it comes to Prince Harry and Meghan. They perfected a kind of outrage-driven symphony. Every tweet, every column, every on-air comment calculated to provoke reaction, to drive engagement, and to keep themselves at the centre of attention. But when those two personalities finally turned that energy on each other, the result was a spectacle that viewers couldn't help but watch with a mixture of amusement, disbelief, and, for some, a little quiet sense of satisfaction. The universe, it seemed, had finally handed out a plate of poetic irony, and the audience got to enjoy it from the best seat in the house. The moment that set everything off was classic Piers. On X, he publicly reminded everyone that Dan Wootton wasn't born in England. "You're a Kiwi," he tweeted. "Born in New Zealand, didn't come to England until you were 21. Now, if you are a fan of factual accuracy, this was technically true. Dan Wootton was indeed born in Wellington, New Zealand, but the delivery was pure, playful jab. It wasn't a subtle remark, a gentle observation, or a neutral clarification. It was a little nudge with a side of eyebrow raise and a full social media spotlight attached. And because these two men have spent so long honing the craft of public critique, the jab landed with extra weight, like a cannonball hitting the side of a ship. Everyone watching knew exactly what had happened. The fact that Wootton's nationality became the centerpiece of the moment only added to the comedic tone. Suddenly, the man who spent so much time judging the behavior, morals, and choices of others was on the receiving end of commentary that reduced him to, well, where he was born. And while this might not seem dramatic to some, in the world of media personalities who thrive on public perception and the sharpness of their words, it was the kind of moment that makes you lean back, sip your coffee, and say, "Ah, finally." The public reaction was exactly what you'd expect. Social media lit up immediately. Memes appeared faster than anyone could scroll. Playful comment threads speculated about whether Piers had blocked Wootton, and the hashtagged discussions, when they appeared, carried a light tone of amusement and irony. People had been watching these two for years as they directed criticism outward, so watching them turn their energy inward felt like watching a little cosmic justice play out live. It's the kind of irony that can't be staged. Two men who made their brands on calling out others for perceived flaws and missteps are suddenly the focus of the exact type of scrutiny they once directed at public figures. And the audience response made it even sweeter. There was no organised cheering, no celebration, just the collective smirk of an online audience that had spent years watching high-profile critics operate with unwavering confidence, now witnessing a rare moment of vulnerability, however small, delivered in real time. What makes this story even richer is the context behind both of these personalities. Dan Wootton has had a complex and highly scrutinised career in recent years, with investigations, suspensions, and public conversations about journalistic standards marking his path. Piers Morgan, on the other hand, is almost legendary for his ability to turn even a minor event into a national talking point, whether it's a cup of tea or a royal engagement. Both men have cultivated audiences that thrive on energy, drama, and bold statements, which makes the collision of their worlds especially fascinating. The exchange between them wasn't just a tweet. It was a spotlight shining on two media veterans who have long perfected the art of public commentary, suddenly discovering that the rules of engagement apply to them too. And for viewers, there's a strange satisfaction in seeing two figures who spend so much time critiquing others, now engaging in the exact same behaviour with each other. The timing and symmetry of it almost reads like a scripted comedy. The critic becomes the critiqued, the commentator becomes the commentary. And let's talk about the so-called block on X. So rumours flew that Piers had blocked Dan after their interaction. Was this verified by mainstream media? Not exactly. there's no definitive, publicly archived proof of a permanent block. But here's the thing, whether or not the block actually happened doesn't change the story. The public exchange, the tone, and the narrative surrounding it were enough to deliver the punchline. It's one of those moments where the social media ecosystem itself amplifies the story. Screenshots, reposts, playful commentary, and speculation combined to create an echo chamber where the drama felt larger than life, even if the administrative detail of a block remained unconfirmed. And in this era, perception often carries as much weight as reality. Watching this unfold is almost like watching two kids argue over the last slice of pizza, the kind of argument that's loud, a little ridiculous, and entirely captivating. They spent all week telling everyone else how to behave, how to share the spotlight, how to conduct themselves in public debate, and now suddenly it's every person for themselves. The audience can't help but lean in, sip their coffee, and enjoy the chaos from the sidelines. And what makes it so appealing is that it's a moment of balance. For once, the people who specialize in calling out flaws and contradictions get a taste of their own medicine. It's ironic, it's amusing, and it's a perfect illustration of what happens when energy is redirected in a space as public as social media. Of course, there's more than just comedy here. There's a lesson about media culture and the life cycle of outrage. Careers built on confrontation, on amplifying drama, on raising the volume to be heard, are careers that are inevitably fragile. When your personal brand is outrage and public scrutiny, eventually, the tools you wield can bounce back at you. The Piers-Dan exchange reminds viewers that influence is never absolute, and that commentary has consequences, even if those consequences are subtle and ironic. It shows that when people spend years telling others how to behave in public, the audience eventually notices when that standard isn't applied to them. And in an era of heightened attention, where social media archives every word, every tweet, and every playful jab, moments like this have staying power. Not because they're catastrophic, but because they reveal patterns we already knew were there. And the beauty of this story is that it doesn't require conflict to escalate into anything beyond the tweet. There was no scandal, no dramatic fallout, no long-term career consequences, at least not yet. Just a single moment of public humor and irony that crystallizes years of commentary into a neat little story. Two loud critics, both experts in calling out flaws, caught in the mirror of their own methods. For viewers, that's entertainment. For social media, it's content. And for the men themselves, well, they probably see it as business as usual, but the audience doesn't have to take it seriously. They get to watch, laugh, and enjoy the perfect timing of karma arriving in a gentle, ironic package. In the end, the lesson here isn't about nationality, blocks, or even who was right or wrong. It's about energy, narrative, and reflection. When you spend years shouting at everyone else, you are bound to encounter moments where someone shouts back. The universe may not hand out justice in a courtroom, but it sure knows how to deliver it on X. And for the rest of us, we get the front row seats, popcorn in hand, as media personalities navigate the consequences of the very culture they helped build. It's ironic, it's amusing, and it's a little bit comforting to know that even the loudest voices are not immune from reflection.